Hi, everyone. I'm here from Make Social Learning Stick with Rebecca Brandstetter this morning, interviewing Leah Kuypers. I'm really excited. She's a good friend and colleague of mine, and she's going to talk to us about self-regulation and what that all means in terms of managing behaviors and emotions and focusing on social and academics as well. So I'm going to start out by just introducing Leah Kuypers. She is an occupational therapist, and she's also an autism specialist, and she got her degree at Madison, Wisconsin many years ago, and she's been spending a lot of time in the field working. She actually worked at my clinic in Oakland for many years, and now she's in Minnesota, and she's written an amazing curriculum called The Zones of Regulation. And she's going to explain a little bit about that in a few minutes, but it's been a game changer for many children who have challenges with their ability to manage emotions and focus in school and be social as well. And she's been spending a lot of time developing curriculum. There's a full curriculum on the zones. There's a game that we've collaborated on. She has 2 apps and posters and more coming. And she's been spending a lot of time traveling the world and sharing her expertise. So we're really excited to have her here with you today.
Thank you both for the invitation to be here. It's an honor.
Yes.
So, Leah, I'm a school psychologist, and I never have really dabbled in the OT world as much as I would like to. And as a parent, I have a sort of an understanding of self-regulation, and I think of it as sort of finding like a Goldilocks level of regulation for my feelings or my behaviors or my thoughts. But that's sort of, I think, probably a simplistic definition of self-regulation. But would you be able to explain to us, for parents out there, for educators who are just learning about self-regulation, sort of what is it, and why is it important for us to know about self-regulation?
Sure. Self-regulation isn't just one thing we do, it's a process. And this entails, from my OT background, being able to process the sensory world around us and make sense of that so that we can have adaptive behavior. It involves being able to use these higher level thinking skills we call executive functions to help make sense of what's going on around us and manage our impulses and the timing, the duration of these emotions we experience. It involves using our social cognitive brain to be able to recognize who is in our presence and how they may be impacted by our behavior and actions. So what I like to think of it as, it is this process of being able to regulate these levels of alertness, these kind of states our body may be in, from being tired and sluggish, low energy, to being up in this heightened energetic state where, physiologically our body feels a lot different. Our heart might be pulsing, our muscles are tense, ready to go, our breathing patterns get different. So we're working to regulate this level of alertness or level of arousal, as well as we think about these emotions that are human nature to experience. So we all have feelings, and what's important to be thinking about is we're not in the business of telling people how they should or should not feel. It's really about being able to take that emotion that we're experiencing and being able to express it in a way that's adaptive to the social situation, the environment. We think about the task demands and what's being asked of us and what's our goals that we're trying to accomplish. So it's certainly complex, and it's a developmental skill. It's not something that, we can just turn on. It really is a process to move from being more behavioral in how we manage ourselves to thinking through and being able to have a more adaptive response to the different feelings and states that we experience in ourselves.
Thank you. That was a great overview of something that is extremely complex. And speaking about it being complex, when you mentioned too about it being a developmental skill, so just like any other developmental skill, walking and talking, whatever, they can have delays in self-regulation, right?
Yeah, and that can be something that is, not tied to a diagnosis per se. It isn't tied to your IQ levels, to your language abilities. And we know as parents, some of our kids, we're doing everything we can above and beyond to try to help support this. And we need to understand that our child may be just lagging in this skill set, just like some kids lag in their ability to walk and their ability to talk. For some of our children, they just may be a little slower in developing this skill set. So we certainly can still be doing a lot to nurture this and help scaffold this for them, being more intentional in how we're teaching and scaffolding this for them.
Speaking of that, as scaffolding and the way we're teaching, many of our listeners might have heard about the zones of regulation. Maybe they've also had other social emotional curriculum that's been introduced to their children in the school setting or at home. But can you explain the zones of regulation and how it really meets the needs from a bottom-up approach and helps to compartmentalize how we think about self-regulation, and also giving us parents and teachers a way to talk about it and teach it?
Sure. So the zones of regulation is a systematic way to think about all the different ways we feel and these different states or energy levels in our body. And we categorize them into these 4 colored zones. This gives us an easy way to self-identify, an easy language to communicate as we move through the development of regulation. We move from behavior strategies to regulate to language strategies. So this can help bridge that for a lot of children who need just more support in building that language. We have a simple language now that we layer over this, as well as a visual structure to it. So there's 4 colored zones. The blue zone is when we're feeling sad, sick, tired, bored, our lower level of emotion or energy states. Our emotions tend to be down in the blue zone. We have the green zone, which is a more organized state. We put neutral feelings in there like calm, content, focused, happy. We put in the green zone. We're often good to go in the green zone. Sometimes we're in the yellow zone where our emotions get a little more intense. Our energy becomes elevated. We might feel silly or excited, positive emotions. We might feel nervous. We might feel anxious, overwhelmed, scared in the yellow zone. And we often have to slow down or take notice that our emotions are ramped up a little bit. But we still have some of that cognitive control in the yellow zone, more so than when we're in the red zone. In the red zone, we have these big, overwhelming feelings. So we might be in what we sometimes talk about as that fight, flight, fright, or freeze state. We can be feeling enraged, angered in the red zone, but we also could be elated, ecstatic, overjoyed with positive emotions in the red zone. We might be devastated, panic, feel a sense of terror in that red zone. So the premise is that we move through all these zones and all the zones are okay. We're just helping to put this language and structure around it so that we can make sense of it easier, communicate, or what we often talk about as co-regulate around these feelings, and get a systematic kind of approach to managing each of them by, as we have individuals moving through the curriculum, they start to build their own toolbox of these make good red zone tools. And my red zone tools are going to look a lot different than my blue zone tools. And so now we've created this systematic approach to regulation by being able to easily identify where we're at and then follow that pathway to what are my tools to help me regulate it.
So helpful. Thank you for that, Leah. And I know there's so much more I want to ask you, and there's so much more to talk about the zones of regulation and how it relates to our social and academics and all of that. But if there's just one thing that you would want to share with parents or educators if they're listening to this interview, what would it be about the zones of regulation or self-regulation in general?
Sure. I would say first and foremost, all the zones are okay. The red zone isn't the bad zone. And when using the zones language and visuals in your home or classroom community, it's really important that we're setting that tone that I sometimes am in the red zone, sometimes I'm in the blue zone, and we can be modeling healthy ways to manage those zones, but really helping the learners understand, the children, that they have these feelings and we're helping them make sense of these and learn strategies to manage them, so that we can have these big feelings, but that we can gain a sense too of how to control or regulate these feelings so that we can have more of that healthy, pro-social, adaptive behavior as our output. So.
Leah, I really want to thank you for noting that. My school psychologist heart is so happy right now when we talk about feelings. That's my area that I really love helping kids label, to name their feelings. And that is something that even just in that process of naming can calm down amygdala firing, right? Just saying, I feel stressed, I feel worried, I feel anxious, I feel low right now. That can be something that in and of itself can help downregulate kids. But what I wanted to say that I really appreciate about what you just said is that parents and teachers can also model for their students and their children, hey, look, I'm feeling in the yellow zone right now, right? I'm feeling agitated or whatever it is. And I'm going to go to one of my calming strategies, which is 3 deep breaths or hug my pet or whatever. And you can almost have, sort of a menu of things, of tools that not only just, this isn't just for kids. This is something that if parents and teachers can say out loud and model for kids, hey, I'm in this zone and here's how I regulate myself. That's a teaching opportunity just by having them watch, right? I really appreciate that.
The one thing about the zones too, just to mention, is some kids and adults too have a harder time like saying those exact feelings. So like it's hard to say I feel anxious sometimes. There's some stigma around that, or some feelings around saying your feelings. And so categorizing into the zones is what we found to be really helpful. And thank you for creating this framework and all the work that you're doing. I know how hard you're working. And I mentioned that you are traveling the world, which you are. It's really amazing. But I also forgot to mention that you have some webinars. So can you just tell people a little bit more about how they can find you and learn more?
Sure. We have a website, zonesofregulation.com. And that is going to be a good resource just to learn more about what the zones are and see our different offerings, which include the curriculum book and ordering through my publisher, socialthinking.com. I have my trainings that we offer web-based as well as the live in-person ones I travel for. But we have a 2-hour, a 3-hour, half-day one, and then a full-day zones training to help individuals or teams, school staff get familiarized and set you on the path towards implementation of this. Or for a lot of teams too, it might just be, hey, we've started to dabble in this and let's get some more information and guidance on how to keep going forward. And then we also have a lot of free resources you can download and links to lots of information. So
wonderful. And I'll get those links and put them in the blog post for everybody to access. And I just want to express such gratitude for all the work that you're doing, the time that you're spending with us today, and to share this information. You're just a wealth of information and making it super practical for parents and educators. And it's really changing lives. And thank you.
Well, thank you. And Elizabeth's been a big team member helping me in this mission as well. So grateful for her as a sidekick who's tackling things like making the board games for the zones, and we are working on some other projects that we'll be sharing with you in months to come. So
Exciting.
We're so happy to have you, Leah. Thanks for letting me join your cool kids club of the zone with you and Elizabeth. And we're really excited that Elizabeth and I are able to fold you in our Make It Stick parenting course as a contributor, because it's such a valuable piece of a tool for parents and educators to use. So thank you so much. And we will send folks to your website. We'll put the link below. But thanks for this great high-level overview of the zones. I think it's really helpful for families.
Thanks for all the work you're doing. As parents need it. So very grateful.
Bye, Leah.
Bye.